Welcome to the closing session of JA Ethics Virtual. For our closing message, we are going to hear from JA volunteer VJ Smith.
Hi, my name is VJ Smith. I live in Brookings. I used to be the assistant athletic director at South Dakota State University, and then I wrote a book called The Richest Man in Town about a little guy that ran a cash register at a local Walmart store. And so I've been on the road the last 15 years all over the country, speaking to young people, speaking to older people. I currently have the privilege of representing the city of Brookings and South Dakota State University in the South Dakota State Senate. But that's enough about me. I want to talk a little bit about you, and it's about the choices that you make. I am not going to lecture. I am simply going to tell some stories, and some of them are about me. Many years ago, when I was a senior in high school, it was a long time ago, I suppose, but it seems like it was just yesterday, I got senioritis, got a little lazy, and rather than studying for a test, I thought it'd be a lot easier if I just wrote some answers down on a little piece of paper and put it in my pocket. And I did. And the teacher passed out the test. I pulled that little piece of paper out of my pocket, and within 10 minutes I felt a tap on my shoulder, and it was the teacher. And he said to me, "I'm going into the hallway, I want you to follow me there." I put that note back in my pocket, walked out in the hallway, and he looked at me and he said, "I'd like to see that note." And I said, "What note?" He said, "The one that you put in your pocket." So I gave him the note. He studied it for a moment, and he said, "I want you to go back to your desk. I want you to finish the test, but you need to know you failed the test." I'll never forget that moment. Here it is almost 50 years later, and I think about it. Think about it so much that this teacher is still alive, and whenever I see him, I do everything I can to avoid him because I'm embarrassed. You know, I failed that test, but what I really did is I failed myself. And I remember, and I never did that again because I knew better. I did. And that's one of the points that I want to make, is that every one of us has a moral compass. You know, when we're very young, we're sponges, and we learn from our mothers and fathers, and from our friends, and from our teachers, from religious people, whatever. And we develop this thing called a moral compass, and we can figure out the difference between right and wrong. Most 7-year-olds know the difference between right and wrong. The hard part is doing the right thing. Everyone has a moral compass. They do. You know, not just your actions, it's your words also. We all know people who have a little trouble with the truth. And they don't make very good friends. They make terrible spouses, bad employees. You have to keep your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Don't lie. Do not lie. You know, there's an old German philosopher, long dead, but he said something to a student one time, and I think about it often. He said, "I don't feel bad because you lied to me. I feel bad because I can never trust you again." And that's it. We want to be trusted. But rather than dwell on the negative, I'm going to shift this to a positive. It's about making the right choice. Shortly after I graduated from South Dakota State University, I ended up in Kansas City, Missouri. I lived there for 10 years. And within about 4 or 5 months of my arriving there, an old college friend of mine showed up because he started working for the Associated Press. He was a journalist. His name was Jerry. And Jerry one day walked out of the men's room in a restaurant in downtown Kansas City, and sitting on top of a vending machine was a wad of money, rubber band tied around it. And he looked around to see if there was anybody there. He didn't see anybody, so he grabbed that wad of cash, stuck it into his pocket, and he went home. And he counted it. More than $500. He called me, told me what had happened. I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "Well, it isn't my money." He said, "You know, the tough part about it is I want a microwave oven. And this would buy a nice microwave oven." I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "I have to give it back." Because every time I'd look at that microwave oven, I'd think about how I got the money. So he called the restaurant, gave the money back. A few years ago, Jerry sat down at his kitchen table and told his kids about that situation. What do you think the kids thought? about their dad and the lesson that he was trying to teach them. Jerry died 3 years ago. There's rarely a day that goes by that I don't think about Jerry. But when I think about Jerry, I think about that moment that he had where he had to follow his moral compass. And my impression of Jerry increased tenfold because he did the right thing. He made a great choice. So my question to you, and it's one that I face in every day, how do you want to be known? How do you want to be remembered? Follow your moral compass between right and wrong, and you'll always be on the right road. I wish you well.
Once again, we are so grateful that VJ was able to bring us that message. To finish out the program, we would like you to take a minute to self-reflect. Ask yourself, how ethical am I? The next 4 slides have a variety of questions. You do not need to share your response with anyone. It's just simply a chance for you to reflect on your personal ethics. There's also a worksheet found on our website if you would prefer that format. So how did it go? Were you surprised by any of your responses? I hope that you have been able to see the impact that people's ethical decisions have on themselves and the people around them. And I hope that you've had a chance to reflect on your own core values and ethical decision making. Thank you for participating in JA Excellence Through Ethics. If the classroom teacher could please take a moment to email jasd@ja.org that you've completed the program, we'd be very grateful. Thanks again, and make it a great day.